Welcome to January 2022. It's time for another look at code with Tony Woodard, Chief Mechanical Inspector for Arkansas, the HVACR licensing program. Tony and the Department of Labor and Licensing take the second Monday of each month to talk about code questions so Arkansas contractors can better serve the comfort and refrigeration needs of Arkansans. My name is Tom Hunt, Executive Director of the Arkansas HVACR Association, and it's my pleasure to be your host each month. This topic this month is Flex Duct and Flex Duct connectors.
Flex Duct and Flex Duct connectors. Tony, for years we went in Arkansas. There was only one area of the state, maybe two, that really did much Flex Duct at all. But I'm noticing that the prevalent use of Flex is becoming very dominant now.
It is becoming dominant, and there's seems to be a lot of confusion as far as Flex Duct versus Flex connector. The confusion is the length. They're thinking that there's a length limit in the Flex Duct, but what's tripping them up is a lot of the length in the Flex Duct is based on ordinance. A lot of city ordinance are limiting the length that you can run Flex Duct in their towns or ordinances. There is no limit to Flex Duct. There is a limit to Flex connector as we'll get further along.
So it kind of, as we get started on this, there's, as I can see it, there are two different categories by the way these things get judged. And the 603.6.2 says that Flex Duct connectors must be listed and labeled as Class O or Class 1. And I didn't quite understand that because it said basically the same thing about the Flex Duct.
It is identical. It's the idea. As you get further along, it's still the UL. It's the flame spread. It's ASTM 84E approved, so it doesn't put any phosgene gas off. If it catches on fire, it will kind of self-extinguish it. The main simple rule to it is when we get further along, and Flex connector is in conditioned space. Period. That's where it's going to be. It's not going to be in a crawl space. It's not going to be in the attic. So that's
so how does if a contractor's going into his distributor and he asks for Flex Duct, is he assured that he's getting Flex Duct or is he getting Flex Duct connectors?
That's going to be based on the knowledge of the salesperson at the counter, Tom. To be honest with you, a lot of the distributors, I think when you walk in to order some Flex connector, I don't think they prevalently stock this. I think it's a order per job, because it's in there. It's more geared in our commercial settings where we use our Flex Duct connector. So I just think when you walk up to everyday counter and say, I want some Flex Duct, that's what they're going to give you. They're going to give you your standard Flex Duct with the liner and the insulation and the full sleeve on it.
Gotcha. Okay, well, let's move on through here then and make sure we get into some things that are really relevant. Flex Duct length.
Flex Duct length, there is no length on it. There is not a length on it. It has to be run per ADC by the guidance of ADC. And as what we see in today's world with Flex Duct, it is those that do this every day that have started off as Flex Duct, they seem to know how to stretch it out, upsize it from 6 to 7, where it'd be a 6-inch hard pipe, and support it properly. But those that get an idea, well, I'm in a hurry, they'll see that if we get further in this slide, you'll show them how much compression of Flex Duct by just not even bending it, but sliding it back down 2 foot. How many more U-bends and eddy currents you put in there, how much loss you've lost in your duct system.
So Flex Duct, at least according to the state code, has no length limitation other than what the manufacturer says you need to do.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Flex Duct connector is a little bit different.
It is. It's a little bit different. 14 feet. Now, for those that are all gray-headed like the rest of us, I have yet in my 37 years to see a 14-foot Flex connector. The majority of them are 2 to 4 foot. You get into some every now and then, maybe 6 foot, but Flex connector, it's just a short transition from your main plenum supply. Take a hospital setting. Each has its own individual private room. Each room is controlled by its thermostat, which nothing more than you turn that, you open up the damper, it allows the duct to open up, go into the VAV box, treat the room. all you're doing, that trunk line that's running is feeding to that individual room. You're feeding it with that flex connector to that volume air box. That's what you're doing.
So if
Majority.
you're looking at a commercial job and say a small commercial job, strip mall, something like that, and they've got, for example, some square pipe above the drop-in ceiling, many times that's considered a plenum. So it would be okay to do the flex connector down through there.
Right.
Now, a while ago, you referenced the fact that cities sometimes have different length limitations. And I don't think I've ever seen a city allow 14 feet.
No, that's a lot of the cities and like the one I'm staring at right here, Little Rock, they've limited their flex duct, and I can't quote their code, but I think their limit to flex duct, not flex connector, is 14 feet. And I'm not sure if that's on the return side or supply side. Take Alma, for instance. Alma, there's no flex duct at all, period. The ceiling, if those that are watching can see me, see the drop-in ceiling behind me here, you'll have to have 3 or 4 foot. Our fire code won't allow flex duct 100%. You can hard pipe to that, put your 90 and drop straight in. That has to be readily punched out by the fire people with their pole. So you can't outlaw it 100%. But when you go to a town like Alma and it says no flex duct, that's except for that little piece right there.
I guess one of the reasons that I thought this is an important topic for us to talk about, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that I'm hearing contractors say that in some parts of the state, it is getting really hard to get duct wrap, and therefore they're changing over to flex duct. And then I'm hearing people say they can't hardly get flex duct. But I guess what I'm saying is that a lot of times our contractors are starting to make transitions over to flex, and they've always used hard pipe. And you can't treat it the same way as you have hard pipe.
No, you cannot. And it is such I'm trying to be politically correct here. There is such a boom going on in Northwest Arkansas. There is flex rampant up there. I mean, it is just everywhere. And we're going to have to, when we start this continuing education, CEUs, we're going to start up there. We're going to start with the flex duct, proper running of flex duct, because if you're going to use it, you're going to have to run it properly. And it is, man, it's up there all over the place.
All right, let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Flexible ducts and air connectors shall not pass through any fire resistance rated assembly.
Right. So we've had some instances. We had a fire not too long ago, and we've had some instances in the past where, I'll own this. I'm the man that's supposed to educate the whole state. So there were some apartments get utilized, and they were taking Chaseway, and instead of running plenums, they would come out and run like an 8-inch flex duct up to the second floor of the above room up there. You can't do that. That's all 26 gauge pipe. Got to be caulked and sealed. That's a fire rated assembly. Even though it's not true rated assembly like the horizontal rating in a garage, you can't pass through that floor, that wall with flex duct. That's got to be hard pipe. And the purpose is so they'll understand. I'll go quick, Tom. You picture your web trussing. So here's your sheetrock here, your web trussing and sheetrock, your flex duct's running through here. If a fire cuts through the side of this flex duct and doesn't stay inside the duct pipe, now you've gone horizontally and you're catching that timber on fire. That's the reason behind it.
I understand. Flexible duct shall not pass through any wall, floor, or ceiling. Flexible duct connectors, I should say.
Right. They can't. They're just strictly from point A to point B, all visible from the plenum to the appliance they're going to.
One of the things that's really cool is that if you go to the International Mechanical Code, they've got a lot of pictures and they've got a lot of drawings, and they have a lot of information in there about how you need to run ductwork. And so, but because we're talking about another document today that uses a lot of the same stuff, I'm just going to kind of run through here and very quickly say, well, like for example, here on support, it says every 5 feet, you've got to have at least a 1/2 inch connector helping to support it.
Yeah, and that's actually been the latest guidelines of ADC is every 4 foot now.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about some of the ducks that I've seen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, right. And they're showing the example of what's when you go by their CFM chart of what they're wanting to achieve at 4%.
Mhm.
That's how much sag they're saying they're allowing, half inch right there if you run that proper.
Yeah. So right here where we're pointing this out, I really said that wrong. What they're talking about is the actual amount of sag. That's a
Right.
half inch. That's not much sag, is it?
That's not much sag. No, sir. It is not.
And the saddle needs to be at least 1.5 inches.
Yes. Yes. Or the web material already is 1.5 inches to 2 to 3 inches. A lot of them that hang it with the web strapping material. That's an approved flex duct material to hang flex duct with.
Oh, your bends.
Yes. That's hard to achieve without a 90-degree mechanical elbow. I've yet to see that without the elbow. I have seen some come in, put elbows on the end of metal duct and then drop straight down into their lay-in ceiling with it. But I've never seen flex duct turned at a true 90-degree radius like that without mechanical elbow. That's a pretty picture. That's in the ADC book, is it not?
Well, this one also is in the code book. They use a lot of the same pictures. Yeah. I don't know who originated the pictures, but they're frequently the same picture.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a good one.
Yeah. Now showing one coming out of a duct board, or I'm assuming, but yeah, that's pretty. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So and one of the things I noticed, one place it talked about 2 inches, and another place it talked about a few more, or it just says a few inches, that they want you to support that. You would have a metal connection into that square pipe, and then you'd put your flex duct, and they want that flex duct supported at least a few more inches past the end of that metal connection.
Correct. Yeah. Especially if you're dropping down like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on your vertical. That's what we've seen some of this. This is where we had a problem where they weren't supporting the flex duct vertically. They were just, gravity. We pull it up, we cook it to the top, and heck, it ain't going nowhere, is it? Well, it can cavitate out and in. So, yeah, there's a vertical support required as well.
We've been talking, or you've been talking about the Air Duct Council. And as we get into this, I want to first point out to everybody that if you want to access this Air Duct Council information, this is their website address, airductcouncil.org. Don't do like I did and put in .com and not get anything. It's .org.
Yes.
When you go to that site, this is what's going to come up. You're going to have an opportunity to access a lot of it, but virtually all their information, and it's free.
It is free.
If you look in the lower left-hand side of this, where it says order now, and then students, you can click on that order now, and that will allow you to register for
you froze up on me, Tom.
took the class, and this is what you would do next. You'd fill it out, and you'd submit your order. And the next thing it's going to do is give you a screen that looks like this. It'll have your student registration code. And you notice there on the lower right-hand side, you can click on the training video, the examination, or the certificate. It's pretty cool stuff.
It is. It's a neat little course that they step it out there. It's worth watching. It really is.
Once you've done that, they're going to send you an email that tells you that, hey, this is your student registration code, which is a repeat from the day before. And then down there at the very bottom, right at the very bottom down here, it's going to say, if you want to click here, you can download what they call their green book, which has a lot of the pictures that we were just looking at that come from the International Mechanical Code. And they just repeat them right here in their book. And that's a free book. And this is what it looks like. Here's the thing you mentioned a while ago. We were talking about, how if you do flex, you've got to do it different than metal. You want to talk about the compression problem that you have with flex duct?
Absolutely. In fact, these numbers that we use when we're out in the field, we use their ductilator. I actually have it. It's their ductilator, and it has the compression ratio, the 80I one. That's it right there. And it starts at 4%. They're not even allowing an actual reading until you run it to that bottom one at 4%. If you're running anywhere else, you're losing much. So if you were to put 4% on a 6-inch round flex duct, that's 70 CFM when you run it at best. And those numbers are from them, not us. So
well, I ran some numbers based on that, Tony. And
yeah, that second one is what we normally see is about the 15%, which that's about 60, 55, 60 CFM. That's how we normally see the flex duct run. That's why we're on them. You got to upsize it.
So if you were running a 6-inch metal pipe, you wanted 100 CFM, and if you were using about a 0.1 friction, or even down to a 0.08 friction, you'd be looking about a 6-inch pipe. But if you use flex and you've got a 15% compression, you've got to run, as you'll notice here, it says you've got to have a 7.5-inch pipe, which you can't get 7.5, so it's got to be an 8-inch pipe.
Yep. And, a lot of rooms might call for 88 CFM or 90, you might get away with the 7, but yes, this is the number one deal we're seeing as far as flex duct run. It's running properly, and I understand we're in a hurry, but this is an excellent guide. And like you said, what is that, a 40-page book? And it's a step-by-step guide showing you how to do it, and it's free, absolutely free.
I like that top one, Tony, there, where it shows if you have a 30% compression and you want 100 CFM, you have to design it at a 0.025 friction, and you have to use an 8.75 pipe or a 9-inch pipe.
Yeah, even in reality, most of our residential is 0.08. Yeah, that's but that's out there. I got pictures. I can prove it. So, and no, I'm not picking on everybody. There are some companies out here that do run flex, and they run the proper size. It's stretched real neat, real tight. Does a good job with it. So that's all. We're just trying to get everybody on the same page with it.
I think the reason I like this slide so much is because I've always known that you shouldn't compress. I mean, you shouldn't let it get bent, and you needed to support it correctly. But I never thought about when you squish it together that it would make that much of a difference. When I say squish, I mean compression. But
yeah, and then let it go over the rafters and cut it in half when it drops. Okay, so you're seeing that gray flex connector. You're seeing your main trunk line run through there. How do you get up there and change that air filter once they sheetrock all this in? Because this is not a drop-in sealant here. This is all was going to get rocked in. So going to be a little tricky animal getting up in there to that filter where it needs replaced up there. They had to come back and kind of build some little access doors to get up through there. But that's showing you it's drawing across that. There's another one. That one was real close to the blower and the whole assembly, getting it to slide out. But this is what we're looking at. This is our typical flex connector run. This is what we normally see. This one was at a Votech school down in West Memphis, and the contractor that lost the job, he filed a complaint and he wanted us to go back. He said that flex connector wasn't a rated flex connector. It does have a rating. It didn't quite meet the flame spread. It was a little higher than the 50. So the contractor that did the job, I told him, I said, well, there's an easy fix. So we just full wrap around that to meet the flame and we met the criteria. Me and the fire marshal, we signed off on it and went on. This is actually a real solid. It's a hard rubber type device. It does give, but you can't poke a hole in it with your finger. It's a real good flex connector. But if you use it, you're going to have to wrap the outside of it with, I believe, the neck slide like that. That's what it looks like after you go back and wrap it.
I see. I gotcha. Well, Tony, I really appreciate your time today. We've talked about some issues on flex duct and flex duct connectors that I think are going to be very important to people in our industry here in the state of Arkansas, as we see more and more people turn to flex either by their own personal preference or on just whatever is available for them to use. If you've got questions or compliments or complaints, call 501-682-9201 to Tony, and he'll be able to help you out. He or the other inspectors. We appreciate the Department of Labor and Licensing who make it possible for us to be able to do this. Our next session is on the second Monday of each month. See you again in February the 14th, just a month away.